Welcome to Delta Squad.
Where are we going?
Embry Square. Colonel Hoffman's waiting for us.
Hoffman? Oh, shit. This is gonna be awesome. To the right! They're everywhere!
Now imagine you're sitting in front of a big box TV, you turn on your Xbox 360, happy you didn't get the Red Ring of Death, and you pop in Gears of War for the first time, as was my experience with it. Within minutes, you realize this isn't like anything you've ever played before. The first thing that hits you is the look of it. This was the game everyone at school, work, and on the forums couldn't stop talking about. Next-gen graphics were here. The crumbling cities of Sarah, rain-slick environments, and the Locust looked shockingly real for the time. It was the first moment when players really felt like, wow, this is what the future of gaming looks like. Today, the gaming culture has changed vastly in the past 20 years, but today I wanted to talk about a game set perfectly in its time period. While it being one of the most brutal games of its day, it was also one of the most beautiful, craftedly done games as well. In 2006, the gaming culture was about to explode and change for the better with rising systems like the Wii, the PS3, and in my opinion, the biggest and best of the big three, the Xbox 360. The 360 days were nothing short of amazing, and it's worth making a whole video over it. For now, let's stick to one of the 360's best titles. Back in those early Xbox days, the king of games was none other than Halo, and with the Master Chief leading the charge. With that, Microsoft was looking for the next big thing and needed another titan by their side to push the new 360 model to show off its impressive capabilities. Now, interesting enough, it was because of Gears of War that the 360 was able to push these capabilities. Epic Games went to them and said, hey, we need to up the system's processing power in order to be able to even run this game. And Microsoft agreed, so this one game changed everything about the 360's power. Around the early 2000s, Epic Games noticed the shift and decided to leap into the console market, of course. See, this was a time where game developers were just a bunch of cool dudes who were looking to make the next big thing without having to please all of these corporations and investors. They made something that was worth playing themselves, and they put a lot of passion into their games. The legendary Cliff Bleszinski, aka Cliffy B, a lead designer at Epic, pitched the concept of a third-person cover-based shooter that showcased the power of Unreal Engine 3. Cliff, as many of you know it, was the heart and soul of Gears of War for the really long time, and went through the hell of it took to forge the game. He had a vision of a dark, gritty world set in an Earth-like setting, something far different than the arena shooters Epic was known for. They stacked their chips on the table, went all in with this game, and with Microsoft looking for something darker than its poster boy Halo, it was the perfect storm. These two were a match made in heaven. The game evolved from a gritty survival horror prototype into the masterpiece of Gears of War. Emphasizing tactical cover mechanics and cinematic visuals, Microsoft found the blockbuster exclusive that they were looking for to show off the 360's hardware. They signed on as a publisher, providing financial support and marketing muscle, and with that, launching in November 7, 2006, Gears of War hit the scene, guns blazing, never looking back, successfully setting out what it wanted to do, and the rest was history. Now, this was a game unlike anything we'd ever seen before, completely catching us off guard with the trailers that we were getting. And I gotta say, Gears has always had some of the best trailers, simply captivating on its depressive world and showing the horrors of war before anything else. The trailers have always stuck with me, showing how vastly different they were than the actual game itself. It touched on its more sensitive side, showing a side that was rarely seen in Gears. That first trailer with the Mad World song playing while Marcus hopelessly tries to survive, finishing off with uncertainty, I mean, my lord. Talk about absolute fucking cinema. You could feel exactly what they were going for in the trailer. You see the hopelessness, the desperation, and you feel the weight of it all in one trailer. Now, I was very young at the time, so I didn't go to one of those midnight releases, but they were epic as well from what I heard and what I'd seen. Some locations even had contests, giveaways, and tournaments. I mean, even I could see what kind of an impact this game had. I remember clearly going to a friend's house and seeing everyone on one of those old school LAN parties back in the day, and it had me thinking like, wow, this is living life. Those multiplayer nights were not for the faint of heart, and the kids today definitely won't survive it for sure.
Fucker, you don't know your shit. My 70s can't run this shit, so fuck you.
I think best of all was the Lancer rifle. I mean, look at this thing. Who knew that a chainsaw and a gun put together would be one of the man's greatest inventions? And to think that this almost didn't happen. Yes, the Lancer was almost scrapped for being too brutal. Now it's one of the most iconic weapons in video games history, on par in popularity with the likes of the Needler from Halo. Now, if I'm correct, Cliffy B was actually told not to present this thing at E3, but he went ahead and did it anyways, blowing everyone's balls out of the picture. With Gears of War having such an extensive lore that many people don't really talk about, I think the core strength of the game is its evolutionary gameplay, a simple yet innovative formula crafted to perfection. I believe the original Gears just has the most weight and rawest gameplay in the series. When you take cover, you can feel the urgency to get your ass behind that wall, jumping from cover to cover. When shooting, you feel the impact in a firefight, and executing your enemies with the Lancer just absolutely gives you the biggest dopamine rush ever, and trust me, it's much harder to pull off than it seems. As addicting as it is, you do not want to be trying this 24/7. And they made sure that every time you get close to the Locust or any enemies, one shot will throw you off and will almost mean certain death if you don't run behind a wall. This game truly emphasized the cover mechanic system, making it a necessity and not just something to look at. If you are not behind cover, you will die pretty easily over and over, even online, despite of what all these online Gears of War pros be doing. The newer games, I believe, simply seem to miss the point and lack the weight of it all. But this is where it all started, and we fell in love with it with the other games. At the time, Gears showed them that the recovery system can work greatly in a cover-based shooter. While it's not being such a drag on the gameplay, the health system simply worked by displaying this red logo of the cog signifying the amount of damage you're taking. By it enlarging and growing brighter means you're taking too much damage, and once it fills up, you're dead. The weapons in this game feel really good, and they're done absolutely great. Each one delivering on that signature Gears feeling, with each one having its own purpose and use in every single situation, like the Nashor shotgun useful for close range and is the staple of Gears of War multiplayer. The sniper used for headshots at long range, feeling so good when you can pop one of those crispy headshots. And the boom shot, which is essentially an RPG wrapped in a grenade launcher. The boom shot, which is handy for blowing up a whole squad and very fun to use. A fan favorite, the torque bow, instantly killing with the charged hit, and the grenades, most useful for plugging up emergence holes and other things. Oh yeah, and I can't forget about the pistols, very useful for killing wretches or annoying your friends. The revolver is no joke. I mean, this thing is a freaking hand cannon, and you will destroy anyone with it with just a couple of rounds. Most of these weapons are pretty standard but are done right, and they're all very fun to use. Also, the hammer burst is a very strong weapon, and this is the Hammer Burst Mark 1. Really sad that they didn't bring it back for the other Gears, but hey, maybe they will. The OG Hammer Burst is always the best. Finishing off the arsenal with the Hammer of Dawn, it's a straight up beam of death and one of my favorite weapons in video game history. You will flatline anything with this charged up beam of death. A very unique thing to point out is that when reloading, the game gives you an extra boost for perfect reloading. A perfect reload will give you a damage boost. Timing changes, so you don't just reload the same every single time. It actually gets more difficult, and you'll find yourself taking this subtle but useful mechanic very seriously in the long run, as it will greatly benefit you. But just know that if you miss the timing, your reload is going to sit back for a bit, and if you don't do anything, then you just get a normal reload without any boost. At this time, third-person shooters weren't really a big thing, and Gears really put them on the map with this one, showing how it's done. And many companies and developers took note of this after the fact, with how simply the game ran from being able to jump from cover to cover and blind firing being so cool and effective at times. The roadie run, although looking funny at first, served its purpose by being able to run behind cover, showing the urge to survive. Thanks to the epic camera work, it just shows that everything was thought of as simply, it could have been still and static, but no, that wasn't the case at all. The camera work in this game is underrated. The way it pans around the room in cutscenes, showing the rawness of the situation and just barely catching the Locust on camera like it's a horror movie. The way it shakes up as the action is always intense, and even down to the shakiness of when you feel when you're standing still. It all just makes it so real and dynamic as if you were part of the war itself. Epic Games made the decision to make the game have a very grounded movement by not being able to jump or climb freely. And I absolutely love this decision because that looks pretty goofy and they went with a very serious tone at this game. Another thing to note is the reviving system. While in the newer games you could move around and cry for help, here it's much more unforgiving. When going down, you better hope your buddy is around to pick you up or you're dead as fuck. And in single player, it's not even an option on the harder difficulties, you just die. The AI in this game is good for the time being, however your teammates are a little inconsistent, so you're gonna have to pick up and carry most of the weight yourself, as they can be pretty infuriating at times, just running around with like chickens with their head cut off. The audio in Gears is nothing short of amazing itself. Everyone's gangster until that music starts playing. Starting with it being somber at times, while suddenly picking up as the fight escalates. And when the fight is over, Gears places genius sound cues to let it be known. You'll be trained to pay attention to the audio without even realizing it, adding a certain layer of immersion that sweetens the cake. Now this game really shines bright in its multiplayer, showing off all those mechanics and its round-based matchmaking. Traditionally fun, 360 lobbies made it a great time to experience. I didn't get the chance to play it in its heyday when it came out, since I didn't get Xbox Live until much later, but if I was around, I would have dropped something like 1,000 hours on this game or something. Now, after playing Gears of War Ultimate Edition, I just know for a fact it hit hard back in the day. Even if it was a little clunky at times, OG Gears was always a simple in its online part, with there only being 4 modes. These modes were Warzone, Assassination, Execution, and Ranked, which isn't a mode in and of itself, but it's the other modes put together just much harder. Chainsawing randoms online while getting an achievement for it, it's epic Gears of War 101. I still haven't gotten that seriously achievement after all these years, but I mean, come on, like seriously? This is the only game in the series where the Lancer has an instant rev up as well, instead of that rev up animation that followed every game since then, which I miss it, but it makes more sense. You don't just instantly rev up a weapon like that. As big and as tough as our heroes are, the Locust match you in every single way, showing pure aggression and no mercy towards you and your friends. Operating with the hive mind mentality and breed for violence, you'll find yourself struggling with these guys, even at the lowest of ranks. There's many types of these foes, and in the Locust army, starting with the most common, the drones. The drones alone will give you a tough fight, as they are very versatile and carry an arsenal of weapons, including the hammerbursts, lancers, and yes, they can chainsaw you as well if you're not careful, and snipers. Then you got the Grenadiers and Grenadiers Elites, who really pack a punch with their shotguns and grenades, hence the name. You really want to keep your distance from these guys, and they know what they're doing and they'll charge you head on. Then you got the Wretches, who just come at you like a pack of wild dogs, as essentially that's what they are. They're the pure dogs of the Locust army, and they'll give you a tough time in numbers. I like to chainsaw these guys, but that's not always the smartest choice, especially the Lambit Wretches. You really want to stay away from those. Then the Theron Guards, who can one-shot you with the torque bow. These Nemesis you shoot out of the sky, and the Bruma and the Corpser, and holy fuck, I mean, there's no wonder they were able to kill billions on E-Day. A little bit of backstory here. I was sitting on my ass on a Sunday night in the living room watching Sunday Night Football when my dad goes, "Hey, let's go to GameStop," or it might have been Game Crazy. Yeah, you remember Game Crazy? That was a very cool store. As a kid, this was the best thing I could ever hear, even when I wasn't getting anything. Just the thought of going was enough for me. It was like a trip to Disneyland. The trip was really quick, and with no hesitation, we pick up the newest game called Gears of War. And with that, my little brain was blown away. I didn't know it then, but I was about to start up one of my all-time favorites. I remember vividly being so scared of the beginning act with the Wretches, just wanting to tear you up. I didn't even want to play it at first, because that's how much it got to me. I really missed the old horror aesthetic of the old Gears that it had. I was crapping my pants as a little kid. When it comes to the story, what's given to us isn't complicated either, but rather a good story and a background to build off of in the future. A nice foundation, so to speak. Epic Games' focus was clearly on its epic multiplayer experience and addicting gameplay. Even with this being said, I think I'm one of the only few gearheads who actually enjoys the story of the first game. Gears of War takes place in a world very much like Earth, except we don't have emulsion, which is like liquid gold and an infinite resource, so it's the most valuable thing on the planet named Sarah. The Locust emerged one day out of nowhere and took over the planet rather quickly. This became known as Emergence Day, but even worse, most of the population died as a result of Hammer-Dawn strikes ordered by the COG, destroying everything in its path. Billions of their own people died, and it didn't stop the Locust from continuing domination. 14 years have passed since then, and we meet our hero Marcus, who has been in prison, and Dom, your best buddy, who comes to break you out on orders sent out by Hoffman. After escaping the prison, you join Delta Squad along with Carmine and Kim, and the mission is to reunite with Alpha Squad and get the Resonator in order to blow up the Locust tunnels. Along the way, however, Carmine gets KIA'd, and so does Kim, by the general of the Locust named Rom. You do, on the other hand, meet up with Alpha and get the Resonator, forming the new Delta Squad, known as Marcus, Dom, Cole, and Baird. What follows is a desperate journey to deliver the Resonator with the new formed Delta Squad. Everything ranging from ruined cities, krill-infested streets where darkness means certain death, and a shady, top-secret factory that leads right into the depths of the Hollow. Turns out it was all in vain, as once set off, the Resonator has very little effect on the Hollow, and Delta Squad isn't done just yet. Baird finds a little device that maps out the Locust tunnels, and its origins are traced back to the Phoenix estate, Marcus's childhood home. Orders come down, and the boys have to get to the estate ASAP, and as expected, there is hell to fight all the way through and through. Delta retrieved the new data by finding a secret underground lab, raising more questions than answers about Marcus's father, but before those questions are answered, they book it the hell out of there and just barely escape a Brumak. In the original 360 port, there is a big chunk missing from the final act, but more on this later. Marcus and Dom make it onto this train hijacked by the Locust as carrying a light mass bomb. After going through grubs, wretches, reavers, and even a freaking berserker, they come to the front of the train, finally meeting Rom for one more fight. Securing the bomb and gaining a huge victory for humanity, it's a good old-fashioned linear point A to point B type of story with strong characters introduced and done in the best way. Although the dialogue is very simple and is a bit of a con, it's definitely not a strong suit, of course, here. Nothing ever drags on for far too long, however, which is the good part. Even though we don't get very many boss battles, the ones we do have just kind of seem to fly by. The biggest tragedy is definitely the main villain of this game, Rom, the final boss. Rom is one of the best bosses in Gears. It's a shame he wasn't given more time and wasn't fleshed out more. He's always been a fan favorite, and Epic took note of this. They did expand his character in the comics, but when it came to the OG Gears, he was done pretty dirty. Luckily, they did give us an expansion DLC in the future, which gave Rom his justice. I'd have to say the best part of the campaign is watching the boys take on the near impossible task at hand, just getting through it one step at a time, blowing stuff up, and breaking the tension from time to time.
Don't worry, I got it. I won't let you down.
It's what made it fun, and it left us wanting more.
There, turn that shit off. Rock and
I want to talk about Gears of War The Ultimate Edition, which came out in 2015. Now, I didn't get a chance to play it until much later, around 2019, since I was on PlayStation after the 360 days. And let me tell you, did I wait too damn long for this game? It definitely deserves some checking out and much needed love. Now, we also have Gears of War Reloaded on PS5, which I never thought I'd see the light of day. But after playing it, I still prefer the old gritty feel of the original. But this game beautifully captivates many of the same feels in the original. Also, this is where the extra missions are brought in, previously only available on the PC port of the original. In these sections, you're set to power up a bridge that's now all the way down and make it to the train that's carrying the light mass bomb, while having to face off a stalking Brumak that followed you from the house earlier. Yes, the same one that attacked you in the previous chapter. I really enjoyed the boss fight with the Brumak, even though it wasn't too crazy. It was just as fun, as this is the first Brumak fight in the series, I wish this wasn't left out of the 360 port, but I'm sure they had their reasons. It felt nicely paced and fit right into the story. Instead of just rushing into the train station, which I always thought was weird even as a kid, the graphics are absolutely stunning. Especially for a 10-year-old remaster, it's exactly how it looked back in the original first dropped. It hits the mark of capturing that good old school feeling Gears had and introducing new players into a legendary icon of the 360 days. Everyone knows Halo, but not everyone knows Gears. And never did I think that PlayStation players would definitely get to experience it. To wrap things up, Gears of War is where it all started from my love of gaming period, and it was solidified with this one franchise. Epic Games had a really high bar to set, and it exceeded, spawning a franchise, comic books, collectibles, and winning millions and millions of fans worldwide. They took a really simple concept and made it to perfection, kind of like a perfect burger put together, but the best burger in the world. No one can deny its greatness, and even though it's been lying dormant for some years, I have a really big feeling that the Gears we love will return with Gears of War E-Day and other things coming in the future. I cannot tell you how much I absolutely love this game, and I really thank you for watching this video.